Have you ever wondered why we seem to be hearing about once-in-a-century floods almost every single year now? From coastal cities to inland towns, devastating floods are becoming alarmingly frequent. But this isn't just a string of bad luck. It's a complex chain reaction, a domino effect, with climate change as the very first push. Today, we were going to unravel this intricate web and understand how a warming planet is turning our world into a flood-prone landscape. Let's start with the basics. The fundamental driver is simple. A warmer atmosphere holds more moisture. For every 1 degree Celsius of warming, the air can hold about 7% more water vapor. Think of the atmosphere as a giant sponge. As we heat it up, it gets bigger and thirstier, soaking up more water from oceans, lakes, and even the soil. But what goes up must come down. When this supersaturated air finally releases its moisture, it doesn't just rain, it pours. This leads to more intense, concentrated downpours that overwhelm natural drainage systems and our man-made infrastructure. The result? Flash floods that can turn a dry street into a raging river in just minutes. But the story gets more complicated. Climate change doesn't just mean more rain. Paradoxically, it also means more drought. This might sound counterintuitive, but it's a critical part of the chain reaction. Prolonged periods of heat and low rainfall bake the ground, making it hard and impermeable, almost like concrete. When one of those intense downpours finally arrives, the water can't soak into the parched earth. Instead, it runs off the surface at high speed, collecting in low-lying areas and triggering dangerous flash floods. It's a cruel 1-2 punch. First, a drought that damages agriculture and strains water supplies, followed by a deluge that washes away topsoil and causes immense destruction. This is the drought-to-deluge phenomenon, and it's a classic signature of a destabilized climate system. Now, let's shift our focus to the coasts, where a different but equally powerful chain reaction is unfolding. Global warming is melting glaciers and ice sheets in Greenland and Antarctica at an unprecedented rate. This meltwater flows into the ocean, causing global sea levels to rise. It's a slow, creeping change, but its effects are dramatic. Higher sea levels mean that coastal communities are more vulnerable than ever. A storm that might have been manageable a few decades ago can now become a catastrophic event. The storm surge, which is the wall of water pushed ashore by a hurricane or strong storm, now starts from a higher baseline. This means it can reach further inland, flooding homes, contaminating freshwater supplies with salt, and eroding coastlines that once acted as natural barriers. The chain reaction here is clear. Rising temperatures lead to melting ice, which leads to rising seas, which in turn amplifies the destructive power of every single coastal storm. The impacts of these cascading floods are not just environmental, they are deeply human. When a flood devastates a community, the immediate aftermath is chaos. Homes are destroyed, businesses are shuttered, and critical infrastructure like roads, bridges, and power grids are compromised. The economic cost is staggering, running into billions of dollars for a single event. But the human cost is immeasurable. Families are displaced, sometimes permanently. There's the loss of personal belongings, of memories, of a sense of security. The psychological toll, including anxiety and post-traumatic stress, can linger for years after the floodwaters recede. And if you or anyone you know is struggling with these feelings, please know that help is available. Reaching out to a mental health professional or a support hotline can make a world of difference. The chain of consequences continues. Floods contaminate water sources with sewage, chemicals, and debris, leading to outbreaks of waterborne diseases. Stagnant floodwater becomes a breeding ground for mosquitoes, increasing the risk of diseases like West Nile virus or dengue fever. Ecosystems are also hit hard. Freshwater habitats are destroyed. Agricultural land is ruined by salt intrusion or the loss of fertile topsoil, and entire forests can be wiped out. These ecological disruptions have their own feedback loops. For example, the loss of coastal wetlands and mangroves, which act as natural sponges and storm barriers, makes coastal communities even more vulnerable to future flooding. It's a vicious cycle where each flood makes the next one even worse. So, what does the future hold? Scientists are clear. As long as the planet continues to warm, we can expect these extreme weather chains to become more common and more severe. The floods of the future will likely be bigger, last longer, and affect areas that have never experienced serious flooding before. This isn't a distant, abstract threat. It's a reality we are already beginning to live with. But this isn't a story about despair. It's a call to action. Understanding this chain reaction is the first step toward breaking it. We need to tackle the root cause, climate change. This means transitioning to renewable energy, reducing our carbon footprint, and working globally to limit warming. At the same time, we must adapt to the changes that are already locked in. This involves building smarter, more resilient infrastructure. Think of things like restoring wetlands to act as natural buffers, elevating critical buildings, improving early warning systems, and designing cities with more green spaces that can absorb rainwater, often called sponge cities. Preparing for the floods of the future requires a shift in mindset. We can no longer build and plan based on the climate of the past. We need to anticipate the cascading consequences and build communities that can withstand the shocks of a changing world. It's about foresight, innovation, and community resilience. We all have a role to play, from pushing for stronger climate policies to supporting local adaptation efforts. The dominoes are already falling, but together, we can work to slow them down and build a safer, more sustainable future for everyone. It's a monumental challenge, but by understanding the science and working together, we can turn the tide. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, please give it a thumbs up and share it to spread awareness. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the critical issues shaping our world. See you next time.